Byron Buxton is healthy and performing, so we need to capitalize while that's happening. And then we have 5 all-stars that have been struggling that you need to trade for on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DonMartinoFB, here with my co-host, Matthew Ane, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit the little bell below. It's going to subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode, or if you're listening on the audio side of things, on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us as well. And this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And all right, guys, trading is always a fun topic. We love talking about it. We come at you week with a trade style episode. And Matt, one of our favorite players to talk about, Mr. Byron Buxton, is up first today. So let's talk about him.
Yeah. And also, too, let me preface this right before we get into this and I get a whole bunch of hate mail because I did sip a little hater juice before I got in here. When we say, trade and capitalize on value, it's because either we don't believe he's going to stay at this pace and it's not a sustainable pace and this is where it's peak value, or it's we don't believe in the performance at all and this is just all a fallacy and gotta sell on that hot hand because it's just a valuable name. But let's get into it. Dom said we're talking about Byron Buxton. Let's talk about Byron Buxton. My guy is really having a nice little start to the season. 102 at bats, 23 runs, 4 doubles, 2 triples, 6 bombs, 17 ribs, 6 stolen bases, and batting a lovely 245. Now, if you're in points leagues, you're not even thinking he's great because he has 3 walks to 37 strikeouts. He's mutilating you there. But the doubles and triples definitely help out along with the ribbies and things like that. Now, look, everybody loves Byron Buxton. There's always those truthers that are like, oh, one day this kid's going to be a 5-category contributor or at least a 4.5, right? Yeah, I'm not buying in on that ever. There's things in his batting profile that I don't like. The xwOBA, for instance, it's sitting at a 334, and the batting average is just not something on there, and I just don't believe in him. On top of that, I'm going to be straight, and I'm going to say this: there's a better chance of him getting hurt and ending up on the IL than you going to having him for a full season. So this is it. This is the time to sell. I don't know what you're going to get for him, in all honesty, because there is some smart fantasy baseball players out there that aren't buying in the Byron Buxton anymore, but he's definitely somebody you could package, right? You could take him and you can package him with another player that's overperforming that is probably on this episode and say, here, this is the guy, this is how you get that trade over the finish line. And I say that a lot, but it's true, right? Byron Buxton and a decent player can go out and get you a 2 or 3 round upgrade and make your team that much better. And you don't care about Byron Buxton because you didn't draft him unless you're in a 15-man league. So it's one of those things where trade him now. The value is probably at its peak all-time high, and then just forget about it because by the time you're regretting his decision, that's the second this dude is on the IL and sitting in his hospital wing that he's donated thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to that wing to get his name above the door. He even has his own private suite with a drawer already with some clothes in it. So Byron Buxton, just get rid of him now and sell for the best you humanly can.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Buxton, and those Twins have not been great. Buxton's been one of the only bright spots, so I don't believe in the lineup either. He's been hitting second in that lineup. He's going to go down at some point, Matt. You covered it well. And then the last 2 weeks, he's been stellar. 11 runs, 3 homers, 10 RBIs, 3 steals, 326 batting average. It's never really been a question of the talent with Buxton. The guy just can't stay healthy. But, Matt, great take. Sell high on Buxton while he's still healthy. Let's move on to this next guy. Let's talk about some starting pitching, right? Let's talk about Carlos Rodón. And man, he's been on a tear. He's been on a real tear of late. Has looked really good over his last 2 starts, specifically against Cleveland his last time out, 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, no earned runs, kept the runners off base. And then on the 18th of April against Tampa, Rodón went out there, 6 innings, got the win, 9 strikeouts. The strikeouts is not something I ever worry about with Rodón. I would probably just try and sell him while the ERA and WHIP are still respectable. Yankee Stadium, tough to pitch in. Not Buxton. But still got Buxton on the mind. Rodón, got fortunate to pitch in a great park in San Francisco, had a great year there, had some success with the White Sox, but has never really been, except for a select few seasons, been a super, super dominant pitcher when you're talking about ERA and WHIP. I expect Rodón to finish the season by 3's ERA, like a 1.15, 1.16 WHIP. So there's worse days ahead. And then even if you look at the 3 starts he mixed in after, opening day, and the 2 previous ones I talked about, got rocked against Arizona, Detroit, and San Fran. Strikeouts will always be there, but I think while the numbers look really good, you could talk about the previous success that I mentioned, and you could get something really good for Rodón. I don't think he'll be bad. By no means do I think he'll be like just atrocious the rest of the way. Like I said, high 3's ERA, a little bit closer to a 1.2 WHIP, probably sub 1.2, but a little bit closer to that is what you should expect from Rodón with the big strikeouts. So I'm selling if I can. If I can get a top 25, top 30-ish pitcher for Rodón, I'm doing that. If you get a nice little bat, you need some hitting, I would do that. But if you can't get anything, worth the return for Rodón, I'm probably going to hold. But I'd be definitely looking to sell. I'd be definitely shopping him around.
Oh, I'm totally shopping him around. I completely agree with everything you said. And 2, the other thing that kind of makes me feel unsettled is last year his fastball velocity was sitting at 95.6 miles an hour. This year it's sitting at an average of 94.3. It's down a little bit over a mile per hour, and it already has a batting average. It has a nice batting average of 189, but I don't know how long that's sustainable. Like, that's something that really scares me with him. And yes, he's getting great movement on his pitches, but it's ultimately something that I can't buy on unless I start seeing the velo go up and return to the year before. This is the perfect time to do it too, because you look at his baseball savant page and there's a lot of positives on it that also are not sustainable. You look at even just the average exit velocity, something that you got to look at when you look at his where you look at he's pitching his home games, and it's just not something that you want a guy that's going to give up a lot of home runs. Last year he gave up 31 home runs, the year before 15, and both atrocious ERA outings. And now you're going to look at this year where he has an 89 mile per hour average exit velocity. The whole performance is just absolutely unsustainable. So trade him now while the iron is hot. And some people just aren't going to put those 2 and 2 together. And I think it's definitely time to move on, because I think you could actually fetch a pretty decent price for him. Let's move on. Let's talk about Trevor Story. Story is another guy that I feel needs to be traded. I don't think you're going to get much. But he's going to be a piece in a puzzle that I think, hey, he's performing hot right now, and shortstop is definitely a need in a lot of leagues because there's just not many shortstops out there right now, and he's having a pretty good season. 114 at bats, 14 runs, 2 doubles, 5 bombs, 16 ribs, 6 stolen bases, batting .272. He's not really helping you in points leagues because he only has about 6 walks to 36 strikeouts, which that's pretty much just the story of Story, and no pun intended. But this is just who he is. Now, you look at under the hood, the ex-Wob is sitting at 333. The expected batting average is right on par with his batting average, so I'm not mad at that. The expected slug is a 454. Average exit velocity is pretty nice, and he's barreling a lot and creating hard contact. But bat speed is down. He's chasing a whole bunch. He's whiffing a lot, and he's striking out a lot and not really walking clearly, as the walk-to-strikeout ratio is. I don't know how long this is sustainable. I think this is more of just a nice little getting off to a hot start, and then he's going to teeter off or join Byron Buxton in the injury wing and go to the hospital as well. So he's another one that just hasn't been a picture of health over the last couple of years. So I'm trying to move him as fast as possible and, seeing what I can get. Obviously, I really hope he's not a starter on your team, but find somebody that doesn't have a shortstop right now and move him to that team. And I think he'll get your deal done. He's not going to be your focal point of that trade, but he's going to be a big piece in that's going to move the needle in terms of whether the trade gets done or not.
Yeah, Matt, I'm on board with you with Story. I was going to take the injury route. Story has not been healthy since 2021. Even before that, he would still miss a games, here or there. The batting average is going to come down. Since 2021, he hasn't had a batting average over 255. He's got power, he's got speed, but you know what? I mean, Boston has so many prospects, including Marcelo Mayer, Roman Anthony, and all them boys down there ready to come up and eat. So a sniff of an injury from Story, and then it's the Tom Brady treatment. Mayer comes up, and I don't think he looks away, from taking Story's job. But with that being said, guys, we have one more player that you need to get off your team while you still can, and then we move in. Oh, no, actually two. Actually, there's two. There's two more, and then we have 5 all-stars that you need to trade for right now coming up next. And have you ever checked your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility over your control finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you can just stop managing your money and start building your wealth. With their surprise insights, when I first started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. And guys, it's always a lot. Now I budget smarter and save more. With their easy collaboration, managing your money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track your shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. And then you could take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. And then, guys, one more thing real quick. I just need to talk to you about giving Matt and I a chance on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth, personalized experience where you're going to get text message alerts going right to your phone. And the biggest thing with that is you're going to get those instant call-up notifications through text message alerts, as I was talking about, when Andrew Painter, Roman Anthony, Marcelo Mayer, Bryce Eldridge, and all Walter Jenkins, all them big names prospects get called up. You're going to know before the rest of your league, and that's going to be by joining us on Subtext. And then when we do our waiver wire ranking episodes, you're going to get an in-depth ranking, letting you know how you should prioritize the guys we've been talking about, in that episode. And then we even throw in a few more every once in a while and give you a little breakdown on why you should be picking these guys up. So if you are interested in any of that, join us on the Subtext platform. The link is in the bio wherever you're listening or watching, and it's available on any of our social media platforms. And all right, guys, let's keep things pushing here. Let's move on to this next guy. Let's talk about Robert Suarez. And man, I think everybody in the fantasy baseball industry was calling this guy a bust. He's a little bit older, never really had too much success before in his career. And last year at the Padres, Suarez came out of nowhere as a 33-year-old that had a monster season, 36 saves, 2.77 ERA, 65 innings, 59 strikeouts, and a 104 whip. As I mentioned, though, Suarez struggled down the stretch last year. The wheels started to come off. Everybody was questioning, can he keep it going into 2025? Most of us said no, and that caused his ADP to fall pretty low. So if you got Suarez, he's been fantastic so far this year. 12 games, 0.75 ERA, 10 saves, 12 innings pitched, 14 strikeouts, only 2 walks, and a 0.58 whip. Now, the thing with Suarez is he will not be this good the rest of the way. So I think you capitalize on having, him and Mason Miller, I was going to say the best closer in the league, but arguably the best closer in the league right now, and just sell high. Get what you can for him. I'm not selling him for like a Class A or something like that, but I really think you can get a decent amount. Closers have not been living up to the hype. I just mentioned Class A, Devin Williams. There's just been a handful of guys who were drafted early that have not been performing. You could go to one of those owners, shop Suarez over to them. They might not even realize that the guy's 34 years old. And, I really think the wheels could fall off at any moment. The Padres do have a lot of other good pitchers in their bullpen. So if there is a slip up, Suarez could be out of there very quickly. I'm trading him. I'm trading him while the iron's hot, man. It doesn't get better than this for when you're talking about stats for a 34-year-old closer with no track record.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the deal, right? Like you're going to trade him, you're going to sell him high. The thing is, he had success last year, even though the end of his season was pretty ugly. You also got to look at it this way: you could probably trade him for a closer and something nice. Like that's the thing, right? Like go out and target like Felix Bautista, a guy I traded for recently. Paid a little too much, but that's another story. Trade Suarez for Batista and something, and that's a good target, right? You're getting an elite closer that's underperforming, that just got his first save in like 2 weeks, who will get more and coming back from injury, and you're trading a guy that's doing really well, air quotes. Now, the other thing is that Dom didn't mention is as the season went on last year, he slowed down. The last 2 months were horrendous ERAs.
I
He had
totally said that.
Oh, you did? I did not even
Yeah.
hear that. I apologize. I was half
It's all
listening.
good.
And the last part I want to make, since Dom already covered that, is his average exit velocity sitting at 93 miles an hour. Dude gave up 7 home runs last year. Even though he pitches at a good park for pitchers, I just don't foresee him not being able to give up not being able to give up what do you call it, home runs, and that's going to lead to higher ERAs and inflated things and blowing up your ratios for the week. Just sell this dude immediately. Eventually, the wheels are coming off. Let's move on. Let's talk about Dylan Moore. Dylan Moore here is another one that, like, okay, cool. Plays in Seattle, and I just don't believe in the talent. The kid has just never been good. He's 32 years old, but he's playing really good right now. 70 at bats, 16 runs, a double, 6 bombs, 9 ribs, 5 stolen bases, and 7 walks and 17 strikeouts, batting .286. He's having a good start, but at age 32, we're not going to buy the breakout. He's never really been a home run guy, even with a season where he had nearly 400 at bats. He only had 10 home runs. The pace has never been there, but the stolen base numbers have. And even those, I don't really believe in that much because the sprint speed is kind of like mediocre in my opinion. And I'm not really bought in, but I'm buying in on the potential of getting him in a trade to a team that one needs a jump start in their lineup because they need somebody hot. They need stolen bases, and they need a guy that's producing like this guy is. He's not going to be a focal point of any trade whatsoever. So let me clarify that now before I start getting hate mail and comments. But I will say this again, another needle mover. You don't always have to highlight, oh my God, like this guy's going to sell for, millions of dollars. This isn't crypto. Okay. It ain't going to happen. But, it's one of those things where, hey, Dylan Moore is a piece in the puzzle that will get the needle moving and will be one of the guys involved in the trade to help you alleviate from trading a higher end guy. So Dylan Moore is a guy that just needs to be moved, and I think capitalizing it now because obviously you look at him, he's either going to be hurt or he's either going to just start slowing down. And who wants that on their team? Not me, but on somebody else's team, absolutely.
Matt, great comment there about trading, and I kind of want to elaborate on that for a little bit. So it's not you're not trading the Kyle Tuckers, the Corbin Carrolls, the guys like that have gotten off to a really hot start as well, because there's nothing higher than that. You're not selling them for much. You're not trading them for like a Yordan Alvarez, another struggling star. Those guys we hold. Those guys are the league winners. So the Dylan Moores, the Rodons, the Buxtons, guys we're talking about today that are really hot, you take a couple of them, as Matt said, and then you go for the higher end guy. So we're not always going to be highlighting stars that you're trading away. It's more of the flash in the pan, like the Kyron Parises. If you guys listen to us while he was super hot, you traded him. You can always capitalize on guys like that, especially early in the season. So I wanted to preface that as well. But Dylan Moore himself, he played on Yahoo first, second, third, short, and outfield. You love that. And that's why you can trade a guy like him too, because he plays every position. He has the speed track record. You can play on that. I honestly don't even believe in the speed. He's 68th percentile or 65th percentile sprint speed. He's not even super fast. So I think everything's going to fall out here sooner than later, including batting average as well. But guys, before we move into the second portion of this episode, and it's 4 all-stars and one guy who will be an all-star very soon. So I kind of counted him as an all-star. Been an all-star in the minor league, so we'll count that. We got those names coming up next, so stay locked on.
Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep your feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shell variety. It's a perfect grab and go snack for a busy day. Whether I'm snacking at my desk or on a road trip or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And trust me, it is, because I got kids and you think you got a second to breathe? Yeah, no. That's why I eat Wonderful Pistachios. And if you love cracking open a shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are an absolute classic favorite, and they are. Just crack open a beer and crack open a pistachio. What's better than that? Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right. So here we're ready to dive into what is now guys you need to go out and try and acquire. And this first guy here, honestly, you're gonna try. A lot of people actually have a little hate mail, and I think you'll be able to go and get this guy. I'm done teasing it now. It's Corbin Burnes. To go out and get him. And there's a lot of reasons behind it. One, you look at just what he's doing on the season, where he has legit the worst season and worst start I've seen from him. 26 innings pitched, 25 strikeouts, a 4.05 ERA with a 1.35 WHIP and a FIP of 4.72. It's not pretty, right? Now, look, fastball velocity's just fine. It's sitting at 95.8 miles an hour. Everything else is just kind of ugly, but he is getting guys to chase and he's getting guys to, he's producing ground balls. Those are the key parts. Now, his pitches are flat as plank from Ed and Eddie, but ultimately, you know, I think that there's better days. Look, you look at the history, you look at Corbin Burnes as a whole. He's been a top 12 pitcher for the longest time. The talent just doesn't go away. The only thing that kind of gives me a fear is there an injury lingering around in the background. But I'm willing to take that chance because I think I can get him on the cheap. If I can trade an SP3, a guy I drafted in probably anywhere from pick 60 to pick 55, and trade up for Burnes, I'm willing to do that, especially in redraft leagues. Dynasty league, that's where it kind of gets a little shiftier. Corbin Burnes is a little bit older, but I still might take that shot just based off of the fact that, hey, I'm here to win. And if I'm in a position to win and I have a team that could do it, yeah, take that gamble. Because at the end of the day, Corbin Burnes, if he does hit, which I think the course correction is coming, because I've heard no instance of injury, then I want that share. I think that the probabilities on my side of the argument of him bouncing back to anything else. So go out there and trade for Corbin Burnes.
Yeah, Matt, I'm totally with you on this. I think the thing with Burnes is we might see closer to that like 2023 season where the ERA was a 3.39, still a lot amount of strikeouts, and the WHIP is always been solid for Burnes. So there's course correction as Matt mentioned here.
Not mad at that 3.33. I'm just saying.
Yeah, exactly. Not at all. Not mad at that at all. The cutter, his fastball basically, the velocity's down a little bit, but once again, 2023, the fastball velocity, the cutter velocity was down a little bit as well. So like I said, maybe the ERA is a little bit higher. Maybe the K per 9 is a little bit down like it was last year, but he's still an ace caliber pitcher. I think the course correction is coming around very soon. His last start was pretty solid as well. So I think we'll see it sooner than later. Go out there, grab Corbin Burnes. If you can get him 80 cents on the dollar, I'm definitely doing that. The guy is still going to be a top 20 starting pitcher, worst case scenario. Let's move on to somebody I feel the same about, maybe even a little bit better about. It's Cole Ragans. Dealing with a little bit of a grind issue at the moment. The Royals have not officially said if he's going to hit the IL or not. It kind of looks pretty solid right now in the sense of that it's Tuesday. He's supposed to start tomorrow or today as you guys are listening to this on Wednesday. So we'll have more information as you're listening to this episode most likely. Even if he does hit the IL, I think the buying opportunity is a little bit, even better at that point because this grind injury, it doesn't seem like it's a huge deal at the moment. Once again, if news breaks that it's a bigger issue, and that he's going to be out a while, probably the conversation changes a bit. But Ragans is a guy, once again, if you could pay 80 cents on the dollar for a guy like Cole Ragans, who, the numbers don't look super sexy. The 4.40 ERA, the 1.17 WHIP, the strikeouts have been there with the 30 innings, 46 strikeouts. But I think he's been dealing with the injury for the last couple of starts. I'm sure he tried to push through in that Detroit game. He only made it 4 innings, right? In the last game against Colorado, only 3 innings. They took him out with the grind issue. I'm going out there and I'm really trying to acquire Ragans, especially if they say that the grind thing isn't going to be a big issue, right? Go out there. It might be a very short window of opportunity, especially if he makes this start on Wednesday as you guys are listening and it goes well. But I'm going out there. Even if it doesn't go well, he still goes out there and pitches and he gets through it and the grind isn't bothering him. All signs point up for Ragans. He's one of the most dominant pitchers in the league. Great stuff. Go out there and buy while you can.
Yeah, no, great points. I mean, he's had a great start to the season. I'm not mad at anything he's done. It's just buying the injury dip. Somebody's totally freaking out right now. And look, you might not be able to get the trade done on a team that's sitting in first, second, or third place, but a team that's sitting in like 8th, maybe on that playoff bubble early, that's already having a little anxiety. That's the team you go and you take advantage of. Go to that team, put the trade out, and be like, bro, like, look, I'll give you an actual healthy pitcher. Let me get Ragans off your hands. So try and get that done. it's always good to attack the people that are most likely tilting, and that's how you get trades done, and that's how you win your leagues, is just taking advantage of people tilting. Let's move on. Let's talk about Mookie Betts. Obviously, we all know he plays for the Dodgers, and he's having probably the worst start I think I've seen from him in his career. Um, you know, 100 at bats, 16 runs, 3 doubles, 4 bombs, 13 ribs, 2 stolen bases, batting 230. Now, as a whole, I'm really not mad at it, except for really the batting average and the lackluster, you know, peripheral stats of the runs and ribs. But it's not a bad start. Yeah, it's not the Mookie Betts that's like going completely off right out the gate, but it's a great buy low opportunity right now. Like, you look at Mookie Betts' career, and yeah, he's 32 years old. It's not like he's anywhere near a guy that's, going to fall off a cliff. Now, bat speed has never been a thing that you could really worry or factor and quantify for him. So just ignore that. It's at a low. But the ex-Woban batting average and slug, it's all in a fact of he's just not doing good things. But he's not chasing, he's not whiffing, he's not striking out, and he's walking. These are all signs of a guy that's calm and cool behind the plate, that's just trying to figure out how to put the ball to the bat. And I think better days are coming for Mookie Betts. The Swiss Army knife needs to be traded for. There is somebody totally freaking out right now that is looking to trade him. But there's also a guy that's going to be conservative as hell and just hold on to him. You're going to be dealing with it. He's going to be a hard grab no matter how you slice it and dice it. You're not going to be able to just go out and say, okay, here's Robert Suarez for him. No, you're going to have to probably put him and like a third round pick for him. It's a little bit more of a riskier kind of trade, but I'm going to bank on the guy that's been doing this for the last decade than anything else and try and get him up. If I'm giving up a round 3 guy and one of these overachievers here, I'm happy to get Mookie Betts on my team for that price. So I'm going out and I'm trying to do it. And if you have questions on, do you think this is too much of a trade? Am I paying too much? Hit us up on Subtext. I'll gladly answer your questions.
Yeah, Matt, I'm right there with you on Betts. Go out there and acquire this guy. Matt, you said it the best yourself. He's been doing this a long, long time. I don't know if we're counting on him for too much steals anymore. He's never been super fast, but like the speed's been slowly declining. He went from like 5-6 years ago, like a 50, 60th percentile speed guy. Now I believe he's down in like the 20th, 25th percentile speed. So I really wouldn't be counting on him for a lot of speed, but the pop is there. He's going to hit you a bunch of home runs. The counting stats are going to be pretty good. He hits second in the Dodgers lineup, which is fantastic. The batting average, he's a career 293 guy. He had 289 last year. That's going to come back up too. The window will not last long. He had a 3-for-5 game on April 23rd. Looked like he was coming out of it, but has struggled since then as well. I have a feeling he's coming up on a tear here, so buy low on Betts while the window is open. This next guy is a little bit more of a riskier one. It's Luis Robert of those Chicago White Sox. He's been interesting. I'll put it that way. On the year, 92 at-bats, 14 runs, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 10 steals, 152 batting average. 10 steals have been awesome. The 14 runs have been okay. The 152 batting average, 8 RBIs, and 3 home runs is not really what we're expecting from a guy like Robert. I think this is a situation where Robert pretty much has to get traded in not the offseason. At the All-Star break. Because what else are the White Sox doing here? Robert's getting a little bit older. They don't look like they're going to be in contention anytime soon. You go out there, you trade a guy like Robert for prospects, and I think that's when Robert's going to turn it on and light it up. When he goes to a team where there's opportunity, where, he's going to be in a position to win, thrive. It's just tough. Remember Juan Soto in his last couple of years in Washington. Had a couple of bad seasons, so it's just tough to get this done on a team like this. Go out there. I don't think you're going to have to pay much for a guy like Luis Robert. You can probably get him for 50, 60 cents on the dollar, and I'll do that all day long.
You stole the words right out of my mouth. I was getting ready to literally compare Juan Soto's 2022 season where, it was an underperformance in like the batting average category, but all the other stuff that he normally did was pretty much there. He just, couldn't get the batting average going, but he had 27 home runs and was still a great fantasy option, just wasn't a first-round talent like we were drafting him. Luis Robert, I don't think you also have to give up much. That's the key part. I don't have to pay a lot. You literally probably could trade anybody at the top that we mentioned for Luis Robert, and, they'll be like, okay, throw me a bag of chips and it's done. So, try and acquire him because, the upside's there and you're not going to – it's not a high risk, high rewards. It's not a high risk situation. Just literally give me your pocket change. Okay. It's fine. And see what you can get. But let's sneak this last guy in. Caminero, the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, He's one that, like, okay, you might have to pry him away from somebody, and that's like a true believer, but somebody in a redraft league, I think this is the appropriate trade to go out and get him. 105 at bats, 16 runs, 5 doubles, 5 bombs, 12 ribs, batting 248. Now, a smart fantasy baseball player knows that you got to be patient with a prospect, but if they've lost a lot of games, this is the team you're going to go after and try. If you're dealing with a first, second, third place team, you're not getting them off there. Dynasty leagues, you're not getting them. Redraft league, team is struggling. That's my target. You're tilting. You need to win. You're feeling like, okay, there's a shot I could miss the playoffs just based off of my start. Yeah, go and capitalize. The kid's going to turn it around. He's going to be a beast. For those teams, you might not have to give up too much. Just a third baseman like a Eugenio Suarez, and then who's performing really well, and maybe like a Byron Buxton. I think you probably get the deal done. But other than that, it's really just about it.
Yeah, with Caminero, it's interesting. I think the big thing with him is if he figures out how to hit lefties, that's going to be it. The kid's just going to take it to another level. Otherwise, I think he's more of a 250, 260 hitter with 30 home run upside, good counting stats. He's not really quick, so the steals aren't really going to be too much, if anything at all. But yeah, go out there and buy Caminero if you can. I'm not overpaying for a guy like him, but I'm going out there, and if I could pay 75 cents on the dollar, I'm doing that for sure. But guys, that is all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review, and shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And after you make us your first listen, go check out our boy Sully over at Locked On MLB and make him your second listen every day. But guys, until next time,
peace.